adapt its plans for the event due to scheduling changes. The U.S. Capitol Police also saying yesterday that outside ticketed areas at the Capitol would be closed due to the cold weather. So even if people wanted to gather there as Trump takes the oath inside, they won't be allowed to do so. Let's bring in a friend of the show, Ken Gray from the University of New Haven. He is a Homeland Security expert. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hi, Christy. Glad to be with you.
All right, so the last time this happened, again, President Ronald Reagan, 1985, that was 40 years ago, Ken. So in terms of planning for security for inaugurations, what has changed between then and now?
Oh, so much has changed. Keep in mind that the people who are in law enforcement now may not have even been born at the time, the last time we saw this as an alternative to a regular inauguration on the outside. So they have to dust off these plans and make changes to them. But nonetheless, Secret Service has this as a contingency plan. They've been planning for this event for months and months now, maybe even up to a year ahead of time for the inauguration. And so they have contingency plans in hand. Now they just have to adapt those contingency plans for this particular event. But as you point out, that there has been a lot of changes both on the law enforcement side, also a lot of changes as far as what the terrorists could do if a terrorist group wanted to target this event.
Yeah, and what goes through your mind, you know, when you hear that months of planning, all of a sudden they've got just days or hours to rethink an entire security plan? What does that look like?
Yeah, that means that there will be gaps, there will be holes that had not been fully brought into their security plan. However, the extreme cold will also work to the advantage of law enforcement, because it's going to be so cold out there that you're not going to have these huge groups that were being planned for an outdoor event. And so that at least will work to the advantage of law enforcement. There are 25,000 law enforcement and military members that will be there to provide support to this event. So you have a huge number of people that'll be involved with this. That being said, we saw down in New Orleans with the attack there here just recently that a person can use something as every day as a vehicle to turn it into a weapon, and consequently the law enforcement will have to surge to that event, will have to adapt quickly to that event. They're not planning to allow cars into this area, but as the plans are changing to move the event indoors, that might offer an opportunity to a terrorist group to take advantage of this. When I say terrorist groups, we're talking about international terrorist groups. We're talking about domestic violent extremists. We're talking about lone wolves. We're talking about protest groups. There's an awful lot of potential threat here, and that the law enforcement plans have got to take these into consideration. This is a national special security event, an NSSE. U.S. Secret Service is in charge of this, so U.S. Secret Service is the one that will sign off on any further changes to the plans for this event.
And Ken, you said now that there are so many holes to think about, right? And I also wanted to mention here that we did hear from President-elect Donald Trump in a post. He said that Capital One Arena, where he's holding a Sunday afternoon rally, it's going to be open again on Monday for viewing of the historic event. Trump also saying the arena is going to host the presidential parade, and he said he's going to join the crowd at Capital One after he takes that oath. In some ways, though, Ken, is it safer that this is all being held indoors instead of, him riding down the street from the Capitol to the White House?
Yeah, it will be easier to secure the event inside the Capital One arena than it would be if he was outdoors, which offers the opportunity of snipers at a distance or somebody crashing into the event with a vehicle like we saw in New Orleans. So that is an advantage to have it there at Capital One Arena. President Trump plans to have a rally there tomorrow for his supporters there at Capital One Arena, and then they're going to use it for the post-inauguration parade event. How that will play out, I don't know the details, but he does plan to go there after the inauguration for the replacement for the parade, so that his supporters can cheer him on there within the Capital One Arena.
I did want to circle back to the two assassination attempts, of course, the one in Butler, Pennsylvania, and then that other instance at his golf course, President-elect Donald Trump's golf course in Florida. And we had heard that leading up to Inauguration Day, throughout the rest of the election cycle, there was going to be more beefed up security. Are you able to speak to us on what really did happen leading up to all of this, what that security change looked like, and is that going to continue into Monday?
Yeah, this is an NSSE, a National Special Security Event, and so this is the Super Bowl of security events. Secret Service is throwing all the possible assets. As I said, there's going to be 25,000 law enforcement agents. Members there to support this. There's National Guard. There is local police from all over that is helping out with both Metro Police and with the Capitol Police. There's federal agencies that are there. The state police are there. There are lots and lots of law enforcement there, unlike the events where President Trump was at the rally there in Butler, Pennsylvania, where he had a very small contingency supporting him. So the two are not comparable. This is really the Super Bowl for special security events.
My last question for you, and we did already touch on this, but given your background, what to you is probably the biggest security concern going into all of this? If you were in their position, the police and everyone who's planning the security for the inauguration, what's your biggest issue that you're like, we need to tackle this? This is what needs to be done first.
Well, I think the biggest threat to this event is potentially either Iran, who very much wants to get revenge for President Trump's action against General Soleimani, that they have vowed that they were going to get revenge for that. And so I think Iran has the IRGC. They also have many different terror groups that act as proxies for them. And we've had a wide open southwest border. And so who knows who has come into the country in preparation for this event. And in addition to that, Al-Qaeda has really grown as once again as a threat. When we left Afghanistan, Al-Qaeda has now training camps throughout Afghanistan, and they have support throughout the world. They have a presence in just about every country around the world. And so Al-Qaeda also wants to take a crack at it